Once again, we are going through our 21 day of fasting, and I've been teaching you out of my book, 101 Explosive Benefits of Fasting, and we have been looking at what is fasting. Now, there are two words in the Old Testament that defines fasting. In Hebrew, the word for fasting is som, T-S-O-M, and it literally means to cover or close the mouth. To cover or to close the mouth, meaning no food. It is used 26 times in 22 verses in the Hebrew Concordance of the Authorized Version. Now, there is a logical reason why the Hebrew renders the meaning as to cover the mouth. This is done in order that you and I do not put a Big Mac or a double Whopper meal in there. So when the fasting means to close your mouth, it means so that no food can go into it. Another word employed in the Old Testament for fasting is the Aramaic word tevath, T-E-V-A-T-H, which means not having taken food. It is used one time when the king fasted all night long for Daniel. He fasted all night long for Daniel, who had been thrown in the lion's den. You can see this in Daniel chapter 6 and verse 18. Now, in the Greek New Testament, we've got two major words for fasting, and they are nesteia and asceto, which basically means no food or no eating. Nesteia means no eating because of the etymology of the word. It is a combination of two words. The first being ne, which is a negative prefix, and the second word is the word estheo, which means to eat. There are other derivatives of nesteia in the New Testament, and they are nestis, nesteo, and they have the same meaning. These words are used to indicate to abstain from food on purpose. And so you need to understand it means not eating. The second word that is employed in the New Testament is the word ascetos, and it means to be without food. Once again, the word a, as in ascetos, is a negative, and cetos means corn or food. So when you put the two together, it means no food or no corn. So fasting has to do with food restriction. Now, see, I thought that I knew what fasting meant until I got born again. I found out that the modern church had redefined what the word fasting meant or is. Now, before I got born again, I was, raised a Catholic, and so we had neighbors. I live in a multicultural society, so we had Muslims, we had Hindus, and of course I was a Catholic, and I used to fast as a Catholic, and to me, at the time as a Catholic, fasting simply meant not eating. So when I saw the Muslim that they were fasting, to them it meant no eating. The Hindus, it meant no eating. So when I got born again, and I came into the church, and when we were told to fast, I just assumed that it meant what I thought it meant all the time. It means to eat. Only to discover that the modern church had changed the word fasting from not eating food or to restrict food on some kind of level, like Daniel did. But I found out that the modern church said that fasting means not to read the newspapers, not to watch television, or not to go on the internet. And that's all great and that's all wonderful, but that really has nothing to do with fasting. Of course, it is to your benefit that you do not partake of newspapers, watch television over and over again, go on the internet and waste your time. These are time-wasting things, but fasting has to do with food restriction on some kind of level. All right? So now you need, again, like I told you yesterday, you need to know your own capacity. Don't measure yourself with somebody else. All right? But fasting has to do with restricting food on a particular level that you can handle.